How's it going, Chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I've got a collaboration with Bearded and Bored today. We're making some whiskey together across the globe, which is pretty freaking awesome. And we might end up using some new equipment. Welcome to Distiller, everyone. I'm Jesse, and this is the channel all about chasing the craft of home distillation and making it a legitimate hobby. All right, here's the thing, guys. Bearded and Bored lives in America. And as I'm sure you probably know, it's not exactly legal to home distill there. So we came up with a little way for us to be able to collaborate on a whiskey together. He's already made the wash, and I'm going to distill it. And I think you can figure out how we're doing this in reality. Like I said, guys, we will be using some new equipment today, so that's coming up. But before we get there, let's get Bearded on the phone real quick and talk about the recipe.
Good to see you again, dude. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you again in about a month's time. That's coming up quick, right?
Likewise.
It's going to be awesome fun. Little Birdie tells me that we're hoping to get you, me, and George all together at the same time.
That's the rumor. We're going to try real hard. George and I have something a little bit special planned.
Oh.
So we kind of need all three of us to get together so you can lend your particular taste bud talents to it.
Okay.
And, tell us if we made something good.
First, let's talk really quickly about the recipe, dude. You want to explain, what your idea was from there and where you got the inspiration for it?
It's basically just a corn, kind of a standard corn whiskey recipe. I think we did 7 1/4 pounds of corn, and I used flaked corn in the version that you and I did up here. 4 1/2 or 4 1/4 pounds of 2-row, 2 3/4 pounds of rye. Did our thing with that. I mean, you remember, you were there.
I was, and if you guys want to see that, Bearded is going to put the video of us making that out the same time that I put this video out. So it's probably not a horrible idea, guys, to pause this video, hit the link up above, and go check out that video before you come back to this one.
You get to see Jesse's bare feet in my video, so that's cool.
So I've made the mash. It's fermented out. What's your suggestion on filtering out the solids, or trying to get this thing into the still without all the gunk in it?
Well, you could put your hands like this. Now, I don't know. You could just use a brewing bag, just throw that in a bucket and try to squeeze it out. The biggest problem you're going to have is that you're going to lose a lot of the alcohol that's just trapped in the grains. There's no way you're ever going to be able to squeeze it all out.
To be honest, that is the issue that sort of really, I've not wanted to really pursue bourbon for that reason. It seems like a right pain in the ass.
It's a huge pain in the ass. I've strained an on-grain mash several times for various reasons, and it's always terrible. There's tons of guys online that have tried to come up with little vibrating screens to shake it through. Yeah. One guy that uses a mop bucket to he puts it in a brew bag and then cranks down on it.
Yeah,
but all of that is imperfect. Really, the best thing you could do would be to use some sort of a double boiler or some sort of an oil jacketed boiler like they do in the commercial stills.
Or like a steam injected boiler or a steam coil.
Yeah.
On that note,
don't you have that thing that that Polish company sent you? I don't know if that's going to work for what you want to do, though.
It's probably not ideal, is it? Should we cut to some B-roll?
I think you should cut to some footage of it just to see what everybody thinks. See if if the community thinks it's a good idea.
Alright guys, enough of that. Calm down. Hands where we can see them, okay? Alright team, so to catch you up on exactly where we are with this run, I've already done the first run, so just the liquid off the top. I've essentially stripped it all out, collected everything, and that's gone back into the boiler along with all the rest of the corny goop and yeasty goop too, I assume. Now I did sort of dig down a fair way into that fermenting bucket, but I didn't go all the way down to the bottom. When it started to get really sort of compacted and actually sort of, you know, borderline dry-ish, I'm just excited about the oil jacket. I am, that's really cool. I think all of the other things that makes the Genio special are kind of incremental improvements on what I've already got. Maybe I've got an 85 and this gets me to a 90 or something like that. But I sort of feel like I can, I don't know, I think I can get pretty similar results with my equipment, especially if I upgraded the height and the packing and so on and so forth. What I can't do, what I cannot do anything close to, is run the still with solids in it. Now that feels like a game changer to me. Yeah? Anyway, the still's getting warm, so let me take you over there and I'll show you what's going on and we can start talking about the rest of this run. Alright guys, this is the main information page on the touch screen when in pot still mode. It gives us the temp at the very top of the column, the output temp, how open the needle valve is, so this is fully closed off at the moment. The batch temp, I have yet to sort of figure out exactly what this is, because the batch temp I would have thought would be the temperature in the boiler, but it's lower than the bottom of the column. But anyway, pressure in the tank's nothing, and we're heating at a full 5 kilowatts. We do of course have a few other options we can look at here. It's still telling us the batch is heating up, but it's giving us the oil temperature now as well, and we can change how often the stirrer runs, and I've got it going pretty flat out because it's so chunky in there. And on the next page, we get back to the amount of time we've been heating up. So I'm a little over an hour right now. I'll talk about that in a second. Once again, the batch temperature, not entirely what the deal is there, and we can change the power, of course, as well. Let's have a quick talk about that heat up time. I won't say it's a little bit disappointing because I kind of knew it was going to be like that. It is going to take some time to heat up, and that's for two reasons, team. One, I went with the jacketed version for all the reasons I was talking about before. You need to heat that oil up first. So essentially, if you've got a 50 litre, batch in there, I think it was, 20 litres of oil or something went in there. So it's quite a lot. You got to heat the 20 litres of oil and the wort up to get up to temperature, and of course you got that dirty great big, tower to push temperature up through as well. I was happy to give up the speed of the gas for the versatility of the oil jacket. Now, of course, the oil jacket boiler is significantly more expensive than the other one as well, so that might come into play if you guys are thinking about it. This is not a review video, guys, because I don't know this thing good enough yet. This is first impressions and hooking you guys up with a look at it, because it's been a while now, yeah? Alright guys, so essentially what it did after warming up, after heating it up, was that it took off, it's calling the 4 shots. It was about 100 mils. It opened the needle valve out, let that out, and now it is re-stabilizing or column stabilizing. So I'm assuming what it's going to do is it's going to put it into full reflux. Well, it is in full reflux, I can see that now. Nothing's coming out of the spout. It says it's going to do this for 15 minutes, and then after that I'm not sure whether it's going to go into full, just wide open pot still mode, or whether it's going to bleed off the heads next as well. Guess we'll find out. Alright, I guess we are about to find out. 2, 1, oh, it's beeping, and nothing's happening. Oh, right, okay, so I gotta press this. Yes. Continue. 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 Aha, there we go. Alright, so that looks like it's coming out pretty quick, so let's see what the needle valve is doing. Okay, so the needle valve is fully open. So I think what it's doing now is it's just going straight into pot still mode. Cool. Alright, so it has pumped out about 600 mils of heads down to 80% exactly. So it looks like what it did is put the full tower into reflux, get up to temp, take off 4 shots, put the full tower into reflux again, and then pull off the heads. And that started at 95% because this thing is in full reflux at that point. But what it did when it started collecting the heads is just open the needle valve totally up and just sort of push everything through. So the top of that column, the very top of that column is going to be, it was coming out at 95% still, but then it's very quickly dropped back down to 80%. And now it's asking me to do something. Hold on, guys. So it's giving me a heads up. I need to change the collection jar out for the hearts jar and continue. And continue. There we go. Alright guys, now the ABV has jumped back up to 86%, which doesn't surprise me because this thing was, of course, in full reflux while it was waiting for me to change the cuts jars, right? Or the collection jar. I thought you might be quite interested to see the speed that this has settled out at. That's about what I'd expect. That's pretty good. All right, so I've only taken about where are we at now? Not even 500 mils off the still, and we've already dropped down to 68%. Now it's stable at 68%, and it's staying at 68% for now. But I'm expecting that to drop off pretty quick, like a normal pot still. Now, of course, this is not strict, so I can understand that ABV is lower. The wash split into 2. The first part stripped, added to the second, and ran again. So I guess essentially it's probably more like 18, 19%. I didn't even bother with the maths, guys, to be honest. So here's the obligatory Genio are not paying me for any of this statement. They did, however, in pretty awesome good faith, send me this whole thing to try out. I mean, if you did want to hook me up with some sponsorship, I hope by now you guys know that I'm going to call things like I see it. I just wanted to let you know that in full disclosure, and that for a long time it seems like Genio have been almost behind the scenes, like you haven't seen a lot from them, and I think they're trying to change that. They want more content out there. They want people to kind of see what they do, and seems like they legitimately want feedback too. So let's back up just a little bit and talk about some of those other features. Genio describes this still as an automated beast, basically. And the more I look at it, the more I can kind of agree with that. The idea is that you can set it, you can forget it and let it do its thing. That it'll crank through especially high ABV neutral or vodka with a pretty sweet flow rate, especially on the gas model, and that it is just going to be consistent. This 50-litre behemoth, from our point of view, is their smallest little baby still. So you can kind of understand where those motivations kick in, right? Alright guys, we've been at this for a little over an hour actually, and we're now down to 56%. While I think this is still okay, it's starting to head a little bit tailsy, which is odd for me. Normally I hit that a lot lower, but also guys, I've gone about this run very, very differently than I normally would. So I'm guessing there's going to be a bit of a weird sort of honeymoon period between me and the still. Me getting to know how the still works, me sort of dialing in its processes, me trying to kind of think how this thing works so I can coax it to do what I want it to do, if that makes sense. I'm going to run this out as is. I'll check back in with you for blending. And let's not forget that this is Bearded and Bored's recipes. So let me do the blending, have a taste, and we'll talk about the recipe. But obviously, polenta, corn. 24 hours later, we've got everything lined up here. Before I get into actually talking about what this stuff is like, I want to make comparison between what I would normally expect something like this to come out off the still like, compared to what it came out off the Genio like. In a pot still run that I've done up until now, is you get the full-on heads at the beginning, and then that sort of tapers off to a point where you sort of cross over from fake fruit into nice sweet flavors. And you sort of get the pretty end of the whiskey at the beginning of the run until you start tapering down into the grainy, sort of meaty part of the whiskey. And then if you keep going down, down to this part, down through the tails, that's when you start hitting the grunge. What's happened on the Genio is it's gone from heads, and we've missed that swoop. I'm not going to comment. I've got no idea. That might be just what the equipment does. It might be that, and let's face it, this is almost certainly what it is, that I need to get used to this new equipment and change how I run it. So I think right off the bat, that's a really, really good example about how these machines are not, even if they're really automated and they do have all sorts of crazy bells and whistles, you still have to know what the hell you're doing to get the product you want out of it, right? Let's get into what we've got here, guys. So 4 shots went off this end. This here is 80%. This is where it got to 50%, and then funnily enough, you can see right after that it goes cloudy, and there's this one here is still 40%. After that, it runs off down, and I got lazy last night and cut off at 20%. But in any case, guys, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me taste all of these. I'm going to whip through, taste them all, and I'll come back and give you some notes and what I plan on doing with this stuff. All right. The results are in, and it works out that I'm pretty much going to be taking exactly this, which is, funnily enough, exactly what the default settings on the Genio have given me. I'll be honest, guys, I was kind of hoping that wouldn't happen. I was hoping that there would be something here or here that pissed me off, or something here or here that I really wanted. And that's actually kind of true. There is a little bit of that, but anyway, let's go through it, right? So what I found is that this jar here, which was the last jar of heads according to the Genio, is actually not nearly as bad as I thought it was. And I don't think I'm going to use all of it. It is a touch hot, and I think if I split this into 2 jars, the second jar I would have kept all of. The first jar I probably would have left if I was doing it my way. I think I'm going to keep half of this anyway, actually, because there is the pretty high-end lifting side of things is in it. It's just a touch hot. This jar is interesting. There's no heads in it at all, as far as I can tell. But what it does have is this very interesting, somewhere between floral and peach note that shows up here and here. It's not in the heads one, and it transforms to floral peach into almost minty and sort of fresh around here somewhere. From there, it makes a pretty sharp turn into the grain flavors here. And when I say grain, I mean almost like nondescript, like cereal bowl grains, almost like bready flavor. Actually, it's sort of like everything mixed together. And then from there, it starts heading into the more savory grain. And then by here, it's full on polenta. It's interesting. These two are polenta. This is kind of almost risotto-ish. If you think about the things between risotto and polenta, they're similar. It's kind of in here. And funnily enough, when you get down here, it's heading into like a velvety, almost creamy sort of thing. So you know what? Let's keep that one too. This one's only just cloudy. Originally, I didn't want to keep it because I figured as I proof this down, there's probably even the chance that this is going to go cloudy. But you know what? I would rather have something that tastes delicious and is slightly cloudy than something that is not. Funnily enough, there's only really 1.5 jars difference between what I would have done and what the Genio would have done on its base settings. Yeah. Now, I did tell you that I wanted to talk wood on this, right? Before I do that, I need to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to the Patreons. Guys, you get it, you know it, you know that I completely appreciate what you do, but I like saying it anyway, guys. So thank you very much. This is all you, so I appreciate it. All right, team, I made an executive decision. First of all, I siphoned some stuff off the top of that run that was a little less on the savory side of things. That's for another video coming up soon, so we'll forget about that for now. The first jar here is at 60% ABV, 120 proof, and in there I'm going to put some toasted at 220 degrees for 2 hours French oak, plus, don't worry guys, that's steam, it's completely cool to the touch. It's not still hot. Plus some American white oak that has been toasted in the oven at 120 degrees for an hour, and now I've just laid down a really dark char on it as well. And in this jar, it is 50% ABV, and it's getting 2 of the essentially bourbon char oak staves. On this side, I'm hoping to bump up heaps of the sweetness, the candy, the vanillins, and on this side, I'm hoping to get a little bit of that, but to sort of push more towards the barrel spice side of things and the sort of roasty, toasty side of things with the French oak in it. It hasn't been charred at all. I'm guessing that somewhere in between the two is probably where the love is going to lie, and it's going to be a case of blending these back together. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a whole lot of fun making it, and there's going to be plenty more of the Genio around on the channel, so keep an eye open for that. Anyway, if you do have any questions, feel free to get in touch. This has been an absolute blast. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe down below, guys. Give it a thumbs up. I'll catch you next week, guys. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.